Hey, good evening, ladies and gentle drunks. My name is Kevin Olson. I'm a recovered alcoholic. I'd like to welcome you all to the fourth dimension. Big book study, that is. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I'm glad you're all here. I know I'm glad I'm here. I certainly never feel more alive than when I'm sharing God's miracle of recovery in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous through the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous in a book called Alcoholics Anonymous that we are going to share together tonight. So, thank you, everyone, for joining. As we always do, we will start tonight with the set-aside prayer. Goes a little something like this. Sing along if you know the words. God, please help me set aside everything I think I know about you, about me, about my fellow man, about the 12 steps, and please allow me to gain a fresh new vision, perspective, and understanding of what you, what me, what my fellow man, and the 12 steps are all about. Amen. And as this is the fourth dimension big book study, I always like to read the two parts of our book that refer to the fourth dimension. So first of all, on page 8, Bill Wilson writes that I was soon to be catapulted into what I like to call the fourth dimension of existence. I was to know happiness, peace, and usefulness in a way of life that is incredibly more wonderful as time passes. And then on page 25, Bill Wilson writes that we have found much of heaven and we have been rocketed into a fourth dimension of existence of which we had not even dreamed. We're going to be catapulted. We're going to be rocketed. And for everyone who will, for the sake of tradition and custom of the fourth dimension big book study, everyone please put one hand up like this. Everybody please put another hand up like this. And everybody go, oh yeah. A little bit of bounce too, guys. A little bit of bounce. Okay. There. All right. Okay, I'm going to have fun tonight. I hope you all will join me in having fun. It's completely optional, but it is highly suggested. We absolutely insist on enjoying life. In fact, anyone who was at the international conference in Vancouver, as I was, and I know Danelle was there. Was anyone else at the international conference in Vancouver? Gail, you were there. I didn't see you. There was a lot of people there. Anyway, it would have been lovely to bump into you. Do you recall, Gail, when they the one at the Old Timers panel on Saturday night? I forget exactly. I don't remember what his name was, but he had the 6 rules. He talks about how Dr. Silkworth says the only effort required being not necessary to follow a few simple rules, and then he doesn't give you the rules. And then he gave us the rules as he saw it. Number 1, get a sobriety date. Okay? And give me a second. I'm going to pull them up so I don't miss anything. Because I thought they were awesome. Number 1, get a sobriety date. Number 2, get a home group. Number 3, get a sponsor from that home group. Number 4, do the steps. Number 5, carry the message. And number 6, get busy living a happy, joyous, and free life. We absolutely insist on enjoying life. Is the 6th rule that was given. I thought those were great. I love those. I love those rules, and I am going to insist on enjoying life with y'all for the next hour. Okay, so we are on step 4. We're going to continue our work on step 4, and last week we talked about the kind of housekeeping items, if you will, that we do with step 4. Okay, we're going to say a prayer before we begin. We're going to set a timer for 10 minutes, and we're going to do a minimum of 10 minutes of writing. Okay, in step 4, and I ask my sponsees to do that minimum of 10 minutes every day. They commit to me that they're going to do a minimum of 10 minutes of writing every day. Okay, that way I don't get stuck in the middle of a step 4. We've seen that happen. I can't tell you how many countless times I've seen a guy just get bogged down in the middle of step 4. And then he doesn't want to talk to me, and we're not talking to one another, and he's avoiding me, and then he starts avoiding the home group, and then he's done for. Okay, so minimum of 10 minutes every day. We set that timer. We write as much as we can. We've said a prayer to God to show us what's true about us, and we'll talk a little bit about column 1 here in a moment again. And we'll start with that. And sorry, just give me 1 second. Okay, perfect. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to start with column 1. We'll talk about that tonight. Then when we're done writing, the timer goes off. Now now keep in mind, understand that 10 minutes doesn't mean we have to finish and stop right at that 10-minute mark. That's not the direction. The direction is to do a minimum of 10 minutes, but I can go ahead and write as much as I want. Okay, and it's going to take time. Okay, to do a fearless and thorough inventory. What step 4 says is when we are finished, we have written a lot. That's what it says. It says we have written a lot. That's a good baseline. I need to ask myself, have I written a lot here? Okay. Oh, thank you. Shiva just put the rules in the group chat. There's the rules. Beautiful. Have I written a lot? Okay, so I'm going to finish the writing. I'm going to say another prayer. God, please help me to put this away. Thank you for this time. Please help me to put this away and get back in the business of being, business of living and being of service to you. Okay. Then I'm going to take that step 4, and where am I going to put it? I'm going to put it in what I call my step 4 spot. Okay, which is just a safe, secure place where I'm gonna know that my step 4 is every time. I'm not working on it. A place where no one is going to find it. Okay. I sincerely, I know guys, I know sponsees that have gotten in a lot of trouble from people finding their step 4. Okay. Imagine a young guy or young gal in a treatment center riding through a step 4 and not being mindful of where they're leaving it, and someone in the treatment center finds it. Like, that's a bad place to be, man. Okay. So check yourself before you wreck yourself. Okay. And treat that step 4. I was taught, and I found out the hard way. You heard my story last week. I won't tell it again, but that step 4 needs to be treated like a sacred document, and it needs to be treated with respect, and it deserves some attention and some mindfulness in where I'm putting that step 4 when I'm done with it. So let's jump into the book and keep rocking in step 4. So we are on page 64. And Brad is here. Brad is back from New Zealand. Welcome home, Brad.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And we're going to start at resentment is the number 1 offender. Let's start rereading there, Brad.
Everybody, I'm Brad Sillito, recovered alcoholic. Resentment is the number 1 offender. It destroys more alcoholics than anything else. From it stem all forms of spiritual disease, for we have been not only mentally and physically ill, we have been spiritually sick. When the spiritual malady is overcome, we straighten out mentally and physically.
Okay, so I'm going to pause there, and just to refresh everyone, we talked about this last week, but this is the first point in the book where they refer to this spiritual sickness. Okay, now Dr. Silkworth talked to us about the alcoholic is restless, irritable, and discontent, just like we talked about in the cycle. Restless, irritable, and discontent until he can again experience a sense of ease and comfort that comes at once by taking a few drinks. Okay, so Dr. Silkworth brilliantly described it as restless, irritable, and discontent. I think that's an excellent way to refer to the internal spiritual malady. One of a speaker named Wayne B refers to alcoholism, ISM, internal spiritual malady. Okay, this is the first part in the book where it talks about this spiritual sickness. Okay, and then it says, and I think that this is key. This is very, very important in Alcoholics Anonymous, because this is what really makes us unique relative to any other treatment or recovery modality for addiction and recovery and so on. And there's a lot of them out there. In Alcoholics Anonymous, we believe that the spiritual malady must be solved first. We must find a solution to the spiritual malady then we will straighten out. Then I straightened out mentally and physically. See, I kept trying to do Kevin's program. Okay. I was trying to work Kevin's program instead of working the program. And I was like, I'm going to do a little bit of the spiritual stuff, but I also need to figure out my mental and my physical and my financial. Guys come to a treatment center. What's the first thing they get? They get a gym pass, right? And they go to the gym, they start working on their physical. Okay. And then, but I need to get a therapist too. And I need to, work on my mental, and I'm going to go back to school and work on my mental. Okay. And that never worked for me. Okay. I'm not saying that going to the gym isn't a good thing. I was in the gym today already. Okay. I'm not saying that getting a therapist isn't a good idea. I'm not saying that going back to school isn't a good idea. What I'm saying is, and it cannot be argued with, because it's very clear in our book, spiritual malady must come first. Spiritual solution to that spiritual malady must come first. Then we straighten out mentally and physically. We must overcome the spiritual malady first. Then we straighten out mentally and physically. And this is something that's unique to Alcoholics Anonymous, and something that I think is really foundational to my understanding of AA and what we're really driving at here. Okay. Please continue, Brad.
In dealing with resentments, we set them on paper. We listed people, institutions, or principles with whom we were angry.
All right. So I'm going to pause you there, Brad.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to share this screen. Okay. So when we're doing our step 4, as I indicated last week, Danelle had a great example of it. A coil ring notebook is what I like to use and what I suggest my sponsees use. Okay, so imagine this is a coil ring notebook, and we're gonna have, these are the coils down the side of the. Those are terrible coils, but anyway, those are the coils down the side of the notebook. Okay, and what I ask my sponsees to do is draw one line through the center like this, and 2 lines across the top like this. And I'm going to connect these because I'm OCD. There you go. Okay. And, and for all the other, I know there's some others out there. I know there's some others out there who were tweaking that those lines did not connect. So you're welcome. Okay. So this is what we do. Okay. And one of the first directions I give my sponsees in step 4 is just to take about 50 pages in that notebook and draw these lines. Okay. Line, 2 lines at the top, turn the page. Line through the center, 2 lines at the top, turn the page. And to do that on about 50 different pages. And step 4 is we call it a 4-column inventory. Okay. And the 3 common manifestations of self that we're going to look at in step 4, we talked about last week. First, we're going to do a 4-column inventory on resentments. Then once we're done that, we're going to do a 4-column inventory on fears. And then when we're done that, then we are going to do a 4-column inventory on sex conduct. Okay, and when we number these, it's 1, 2, 3. I got to do a better 4 than that. There you go, 4. Okay, so what we want to do is list each name, people, principles, or institutions with whom we're angry. And we want to list them all in number 1. Okay, 1 name per page. So I might write dad here. Okay, dad, and then I turn the page, and then I might write I don't know who Mike is, but I'm going to write Mike. Okay. Let's write the name of the people that I resent. Okay. Whoever it is, whatever it is. Okay. Now we shared last week, and maybe Rob can put it up for us. We shared what is called a resentment prompt sheet. Okay. And this is not something that's hard to find. If you just put into Google step 4 resentment prompt, you will find this list. Okay. Like above the fold, as they like to say, at Google. You will, and there may be various different ones. It doesn't matter. which one you find. This is just meant to be a prompt that gives us ideas on different things or different perspectives of people that we might resent. Okay. When I was new, I didn't think I had any resentments. I thought I was pretty easygoing, just kind of let things go, and pretty understanding and so on. And like, that's just such a lie. I am a very potentially resentful person. Okay. And when these names come up, no matter what the name is, okay, guys, and this is important, no matter what the name is, or the principle or the institution that comes to mind, I just write it down. Okay. One of the lies that my alcoholism would tell me to keep me separated from this solution was to convince me that I was really a forgiving, understanding person. And a name would come up and I would think, oh, but no, I've let that go. I don't really hold on to that. Nonsense. I hold on to resentments for dear life. Okay. And I had, all these things from my life that were things that I needed to look at one way or the other. Now, here's the thing. I also think this is important to talk about. Some of these resentments are for sure just going to be what I call nickel and dime resentments. Simple, little, easy resentments to get through, and so on. Some of these are going to be what I call $50 bills, $50 bill resentments. Okay. And whether or not they're nickel and dime resentments or they're $50 bill resentments does not matter. They are equally as dangerous to me. Okay. For sure, because the nickels and dimes will add up, and the $50 bills in particular need some attention, because those are the ones that are more quickly and easily able to say, well, I'm justified in having this anger towards these people because of what they did to me. Okay. And we're going to start looking at these resentments from an entirely different angle. But one of the things I want you guys to understand is that for columns 1, 2, and 3 that we're going to go through tonight, columns 1, 2, and 3, we are still absolutely in blame game. Okay. So enjoy it while it lasts. Okay. Because pretty soon we're not going to get that luxury ever again. Okay. Pretty soon we're going to change completely our perception of how these things are in our lives. Okay. So again, just to say, I might write police here as an institution. Okay. Police, or maybe school. Maybe I hated going to school. Okay. As a kid. Okay. And maybe it's a particular school. Maybe it's a specific school that I resent because the way they treated me when I went there. Or maybe it's a particular university that gave me a hard time, or whatever it is. Okay. We listed people, institutions, or principles with whom we were angry. And that's the first thing. When we do a step 4, guys, we don't work across the columns like this. We don't look at school and then do column 2 and then do column 3 and do column 4. Okay. We start out doing all of column 1, listing all these resentments first. And then with my sponsees, when they're finished column 1, or when they think like, man, I'm starting to run out of things, great. Then we're going to move to column 2. If you get more column 1s, we can go back and fill them in again. Okay. But in the near term, when they think that they're just about done, then we're going to move into column 2. Okay. And let's do that now. So, Brad, can you read what column 2 is for us?
We asked ourselves why we were angry.
Pretty simple. Okay, that's it. So column 1 is who. Column 2 is why. We asked ourselves why we were angry. Okay. And one of the things that is important to understand is how much do I want to write in column 2. Now, I used to write big dramatic stories about everything. Okay. And I thought that was a good idea. And if your sponsor tells you to write a whole bunch in column 2, then your sponsor is right. Okay. And that's fine. What I believe today however, and I think it was actually, I heard Chris Raymer, the AA speaker, Chris R, talking about this. In the book, if we look at the example, okay, and if we go over to page 65, I'm resentful at Mr. Brown. The cause, his attention to my wife, told my wife and my mistress, Brown might get my job at the office. Mrs. Jones, she's a nut. She snubbed me. She committed her husband for drinking. He's my friend. She's a gossip. Very, very tight bullet points. And in fact, what Chris R says, and this is what I tell my sponsees now, because I think it's appropriate. In the example in the book, they never use more than 19 words. 19 words is the maximum number that I'm allowed to write for column 2. Okay, that's it. So rather than writing out these long epic sagas of the 3-part miniseries of what happened and why I'm angry and trying to justify it to myself and trying to get my sponsor on my side about why this person has wronged me, don't you understand? We're going to keep it just to bullet points, okay? They lied to me. They stole from me. They humiliated me. They gossiped about me. They criticized me. They hurt my feelings, whatever it is. We're going to keep it to very, very tight amount of information for column 2, okay? And that's it. And again, guys, we're going to do all of column 2 after column 1. So we do all of column 1, we write all the names, list all the people, principles, and institutions. How many should you have for column 1? I say write out 50 pages for a reason. I think that's probably a pretty good start. Most people, most step 5s that I've listened to have about that number. On my first one, I had 72 of them. If you get a sponsee that's like, I have hundreds of them, I've written about, I have 170. That may be valid, but I think that there may be something wrong there as well. They may be misunderstanding what a resentment is. So, again, guys, just to refresh, a resentment just means to re-feel anger. That's all it is. If something happens today and I'm angry with you, I'm angry right now in the moment. But tomorrow, if I'm still holding on to that, or worse, a week from now, I'm still holding on to it. Or much worse, 20 years from now, I'm still holding on to that resentment. Okay? That is anger that I am re-feeling. I'm re-feeling that anger from the past. Okay? And by the way, one of the resentments on my step 4 was kid at Woodbine Elementary School who pushed me off the slide and told me no one liked me. Okay? Well, you guys laugh. I mean, hey, man, it was it was a big deal. Okay. But look, I hold on to these things, man. But my point in telling you that is I don't know his name, and it's okay if you don't know their name. Okay. Just write about the situation, write about the story, the event or the moment or whatever it was. Just write something that will make sense to you as to what their name is, and then write it down. I've had even people who would write, they were, concerned that someone was going to find their step 4, even though it was in a safe spot and whatnot. And there were very, very, very private things they didn't want to share. And so they actually had little code symbols. So they would write a star rather than writing the person's name, and they would know that that star meant their mom. Or they, write a number sign, and that they knew that that number sign meant their sister. They knew that, and that's fine. I guess we talked about this last week too, but I want to say I don't believe that we should be doing our step 4 like in an Excel spreadsheet or in any kind of computerized thing. I think our book says we put pen to paper. And there is neurological data that tells us, certain, there's more meaningful connections that we make when we just put pen and paper. So I think that's how a step 4 needs to be done. Okay. So we do all of column 1, write out all the names. Then we move to column 2, we write the why. Never more than 19 words. And we are going to just make very quick bullet points. They lied to me. They stole from me. They cheated me. They humiliated me, whatever it might be. Okay. And that's exactly what we want to put in column 2. One of the things that Brad mentioned last week too, that I'd never heard that before, Brad, and I really like it, is Brad will give the resentment prompt sheet once his sponsees think they're done, column 1. And that never occurred to me. I always give it right up front, and hopefully it's helpful in them developing what their resentments are and making sure that they're have a full complement of all their resentments. I like the idea of giving it to them at the end to see then if they've missed anything. I think that's a fine idea. So with that said, that's column 1. Column 2 is pretty straightforward, guys. This is not, these resentments have been living in my mind for years and years and years, okay? It should be pretty easy for me to start getting them written down on paper, particularly once I just accept the fact that I'm a resentful person. Once I accept the fact that I'm a resentful that these things are plaguing me and have been plaguing me for years, suddenly I'm going to start seeing them everywhere. Like, oh yeah, that guy. Oh yeah, you. Yeah, go write it down, okay? It becomes a lot easier. And I think being able to identify and accept these resentments that we have, and understanding that a lot of times we don't know how we're feeling, man. When I was new, I remember. I'll share this with you. My sponsor asked me one day how I was feeling, and I was just starting to be able to get honest about these things. I said, David, I don't know how I'm feeling. I don't know. It's not good, I can tell you that, but I don't know what I'm feeling right now. Okay, we suffer from emotions that make life difficult as alcoholics. Okay. And what I have found in AA is a higher degree of mental comfort and an escape from the tortures of the mind. Okay. But one of the things I had to do was start applying these solutions and the spiritual toolkit. And even just being able to understand as I'm going through the day that something is feeling bad, being able to narrow it down and say, okay, I have a resentment. It has everything to do with step 6 and 7. It has everything to do with step 10, which I'm going to be doing on a daily basis. Step 10 says, continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. It's important that I learn how to be mindful in my life when something is irritating me, what the resentment is and why I have that resentment, and be able to pause and take a step back and then apply this solution. And I'll share with you because it was profound to me when I was new. My sponsor taught me early on that people can feel, alcoholics like me can feel, and all people can feel one of 5 things. Okay? You ready? I can feel mad, which is to say resentful. I can feel glad. I can feel sad. I can feel afraid, or I can feel empty and numb. Okay? Those are the 5 things. Mad, sad, glad, afraid, and numb. Holy man, was that a helpful tool when I was new, man. And here's the other thing that he taught me. I can feel more than one of those simultaneously. Anyone here ever felt mad and afraid at the same time? Yeah. Anyone here ever felt glad and sad at the same time? Something was bittersweet. So I can feel I'm glad that this is happening, but I'm also sad that this is happening. Okay. Really powerful tool in terms of me being able to just name what the feelings were that I was having. You guys with me on that? It was just really helpful. And so I share that with you, and you can use it with your sponsees as well, because it's so simple. Mad, sad, glad, afraid, or he said numb. Okay. And I think empty is another way of thinking that. Alcoholics, sometimes we just feel empty. Okay. And it's a hard thing to explain to people that they don't understand. They're like, what do you mean you feel empty? Right? It's like, you guys all know exactly what I mean. The internal spiritual malady of an alcoholic is not always seething with resentment or crushed by depression. Sometimes it's just that emptiness, and it's a terrible, terrible way to feel. So being able to name these resentments and understand that I am resentful is a powerful and important tool. in our toolkit. Okay. So now, Brad, let's move on to column 3.
In most cases, it was found that our self-esteem, our pocketbooks, our ambitions, our personal relationships, including sex, were hurt or threatened. So we were sore, we were burned up. On our grudge list, we set opposite each name our injuries. Was it our self-esteem, our security, our ambitions, our personal or sex relations which had been interfered with?
Okay, guys. So for anyone who doesn't know, or anyone who just wants to make this note for when you're sponsoring people, okay, column 3, step 4, column 3 begins where it says on our grudge list. Okay. And the things that we're going to look for, I'm not going to write them out on the PowerPoint that I have here, but we're looking for self-esteem. Did this resentment impact my self-esteem? Did this resentment impact my security? What is, like, when I was new, I was like, what security? What are you talking about? What does that mean? These things would frustrate me terribly, okay? Because I didn't know what you meant by security. So let me simplify it for you. There are 3 types of security that we're going to look at. I'm going to describe them to you, and you're going to understand exactly what they mean by security, okay? The first is physical security, okay? This resentment that I have, and we're going to do some examples. The resentment that I have, did this person impact my physical security, my physical safety, my physical well-being? Okay, that's the first security, physical security. Secondly, did this person impact my financial security? Okay, everyone here knows exactly what I mean when I say that. Did this person mess with my money? Okay, okay, that's what we're talking about. What happened with this person? Did it impact my finances, my financial security? We all understand that. And lastly, the one that we most understand, did this resentment impact my emotional security? Which is to say, did they hurt my feelings? Okay? And we all understand having hurt feelings. They hurt my feelings. Okay? We all understand having hurt feelings. Those are the types of security we have: physical security, financial security, and emotional security. Okay? Then, did this resentment impact my ambition, which is my desire to go out into the world and to do new things and to try new things and to have creativity in my life and want to do more and to be ambitious, to have ambition? Did this resentment impact my ambition? Then finally and simply, did this resentment impact my personal relations, and did it impact my sex relations? Okay, so let's take some examples. Okay, let's use an example of say an older brother who would beat me up and steal the lunch money that mom and dad gave me when I was a kid. Okay. Okay, imagine a resentment like that. Would that have impacted my self-esteem? Yes, for sure. Okay. Would that have impacted my physical security? Yes, he was beating me up. Did it impact my financial security? Yes, he was stealing my money. Did that impact my emotional security? I'm guessing I didn't feel great about the fact that my older brother was beating me up. Did it impact my ambition? Yeah, why would you want to do anything in life and go to school and trust anything and trust anyone if that type of thing was happening? Okay. Did it impact then my personal relations? Well, maybe, yeah, later in life I wouldn't trust anyone and I'd be angry all the time because of what my brother did. Impact my personal relations. Did it impact my sex relations? Probably not. Okay, doesn't really have anything to do with that. Okay. So that's an example. Let's say when I was a kid, I went to school and I had a teacher in grade 3 who belittled me and made me feel dumb and like I wasn't smart. Okay. Did that impact my self-esteem? Yes, very much so. Did it impact my financial security? No, not really. Did it impact my physical security? Not really. Did it impact my emotional security? Yes, for sure. Did it impact my ambition? Yes, absolutely. Do you think I wanted to go to school and be a good student and go to university and excel in academia? No, because this woman was robbing me of my sense of well-being and this sense of self. Okay. And I'm just imagining these resentments. Okay, I'm making these up, and I'm already getting resentful at this teacher. I don't even know who she is, but all right. Did it impact my personal relationships? Like maybe, maybe not. Did it impact my sex relations? No, I wouldn't think so. Okay. Um, Lastly, let's just take for an example. Let's say I had a mechanic who did a bunch of work on my car and it cost me a bunch of money and he kind of ripped me off and didn't actually do any of the work. Okay. And so I write that down. Mechanic. Okay. Column T. Why? Just what I said. He ripped me off, didn't do the work, lied to me, stole from me. Okay. Great. Go into column 3. Does that impact my self-esteem? Maybe, maybe not. Like maybe I just feel like foolish that I believed him, but probably doesn't impact my self-esteem. Does it impact my emotional security? Like, I don't know, where my feelings really hurt? I don't know. Does it impact my financial security? Yes, definitely. Does it impact my physical security? Only if like the guy didn't do work like on something like my brakes and my car was danger, like that could have impacted my physical security, so I might want to write that down. Did it impact my ambition? Yeah, what's the point in even taking care of things in your life? What's the point in even doing anything? What's the point in taking your car to a mechanic and trying to stay on top of these things? People are just going to rip you off anyway. Okay, did it impact your personal relationships? Probably not. Did it impact my sexual relationships? Probably not. Okay. Does that make sense, you guys? That's what we're looking at in column 3. Okay. Now, typically, what I would say in terms of column 3, yes, I have to write them out each time, every time, all of them, all the way. Yes, you have to write the word self-esteem 72 times. Yes, you have to write the words emotional security 72 times. Yes, you do. No, there's no shortcuts. Half measures avail us nothing. We believe there is no middle of the road solution. Write it all out. And I'll tell you why. Because when I get to step 10, inside of my head, in the absence of having pen and paper to actually do it, inside of my head is a little 4-column inventory that looks exactly like this. Okay. And when we do in step 10, it's called a spot check inventory. Right now, in the moment when I'm getting tangled up and I pause and I realize, oh, what I'm feeling is a resentment. Okay, column 1, this guy. Column 2, why? Okay. And figure that out. And column 3, writing it out and being very well versed in what goes in column 3 under affects my, by the way, I should write that out. Okay, column 3 is affects. It is extraordinarily hard to write this. Affects my. Just knowing what those are off the top of my head: self-esteem, emotional security, physical security, financial security, ambition, personal relationships, and sex relationships. You could wake me up out of a dead sleep and ask me, Kevin, what goes into step 4, column 3? And I would be able to tell you. Okay. And partially that's because I've taken a lot of guys through their step 4s. I've done a lot of my own step 4s, but also because when I do that step 10 spot check inventory, I want to be really on top of what are those things when I'm just doing it mentally in the moment, because I'm standing on the bus getting resentful at someone. Okay. And I don't want to take out my big book and have to read them. It's good to just have these things memorized. Okay. So that's what we do, guys. Okay, those are the first 3 columns. And as I said, up till now, it's still just straight blame game. It's still them and what they did and how they hurt me and how it affected me. And man, it was nice while it lasted. Okay, but right now, we are going to look at step 4 from an entirely different angle. And we are going to have a new experience with these people in our lives. and we are going to apply a spiritual solution to these resentments that is going to completely change our minds. It is going to change our hearts. It is going to change everything in our lives when I can be free of these resentments. And there is a way to be free of those resentments. And if you're anything like me, brothers and sisters, I had resentments when I came to AA that, I talked about nickels and dimes. There's some nickel and dime resentments. And then I had some resentments. They weren't $50 bills, man. They were like the mortgage on my house. Okay. These resentments were flesh and blood and bone. These resentments were part of my DNA. They were part of my personality. They were part of the story that I told you. They were part of my narrative. They were part of my character as a human being were intertwined with these resentments that were just part of me. And I did not think that there would ever be a way to be free of these. And I want you to know that I've been absolutely free of these resentments for many, many, many years now. Many, many years. And I know some of you, I know some of you right now. I know if you're here and you're new, you're relatively new, or even if you're not new, man, we can create new resentments all the time. I know some of you have very, very troublesome resentments that are killing you right now. Killing you. You may be physically sober, and they are spiritually killing you, these resentments. And we have a way out. We absolutely have a way out upon which we can join in brotherly and harmonious action. But there is action to take. Okay. So let's yeah, we're gonna come back to this example when we get to column 4, which we'll probably do next week. We'll probably do column 4 next week. Right now, guys, we're gonna talk about something that I missed for years in Alcoholics Anonymous, something that I did not know about until finally I surrendered, and the sponsor took me through this book in detail and broke out these instructions exactly the way I'm going to share them with you. And the thing that I missed is in between column 3 and column 4. And that is a prayer. And so, Brad, if you would continue reading for us, let's go through it, and then we'll talk about it, and I'll share with you guys. I'll point out exactly what the directions are in the book, and then I'll share with you in depth what I do with my sponsees and how we work through this.
We went back through our lives. Nothing counted but thoroughness and honesty. When we were finished, we considered it carefully. The first thing apparent was that this world and its people were often quite wrong. To conclude that others were wrong was as far as most of us ever got. The usual outcome was that people continued to wrong us and we stayed sore. Sometimes it was remorse, and then we were sore at ourselves. But the more we fought and tried to have our own way, the worse matters got. As in war, the victor only seemed to win. Our moments of triumph were short lived. It is plain that a life which includes deep resentment leads only to futility and unhappiness. To the precise extent that we permit these, do we squander the hours that might have been worthwhile. But with the alcoholic, whose hope is the maintenance and growth of a spiritual experience, this business of resentment is infinitely grave. We found that it is fatal, for when harboring such feelings, we shut ourselves off from the sunlight of the spirit. The insanity of alcohol returns, and we drink again, and with us to drink is to die.
So I just want to make the connection again, guys, here, that this is what we're doing. Just like we talked about Bill Wilson last week, the worldly clamors within myself cut me off from the power, right? Or in We Agnostics, deep down within every man, woman, or child is the fundamental idea of God. However, it may be obscured by pomp, calamity, and worship of other things. Here, Bill Wilson is saying that when we harbor these feelings, we shut ourselves off from the sunlight of the spirit. The insanity of alcohol returns, we drink again, with us to drink is to die. The purpose of what we're trying to do is to get rid of the things within myself that had been blocking me, is what step 4 says. Okay. Blocking me from what? Blocking me from the sunlight of the Spirit, blocking me from God. Okay. Again, I use the analogy of Wi-Fi. In fact, Shiva and I were visiting a friend last night, and we were talking about this. And where we were visiting this friend, we didn't have cell phone connection. We couldn't use our cell phones. And I use that as an analogy to explain that the fact that I'm there and my cell phone has no connectivity where we were does not mean that the power isn't there. It means that I'm cut off from it. And it means that I need to change something about my connection to the power. The power is real and it is omnipotent. As Emmett Fox says, God is love and life and truth, intelligence, soul, principle, and omnipotence. God is everywhere and God is every when. He is eternal and he is majestic. And the problem is I'm cut off from God by these feelings. When harboring such feelings, when harboring these feelings of resentment, I am shut off from this power. Okay. The sunlight of the Spirit, the insanity of alcohol returns and we drink again. And with us to drink is to die. And this program, these 12 steps are purpose built for alcoholics like me. Surrender, confession, restitution, and service. Those actions are custom designed in that order to create within me a spiritual awakening, not by adding something to me, but by removing things from me. Does that make sense, you guys? Alcoholics Anonymous is not about adding something. Sandy Beach, if you've ever heard the great AA speaker Sandy Beach, and if you've never heard Sandy Beach, do not go to bed tonight until you've listened to Sandy B. Sandy B says that if you were to summarize Alcoholics Anonymous in 2 words, he would use the words, let go. Okay? This is not about hold on. If you've ever heard anybody say, like, I'm here, I'm going to fight my disease with everything I have. It's like, brother, please stop. Stop fighting, because we're not going to win. It's like me getting in the ring with Muhammad Ali in his prime. It doesn't matter what moves I think I'm going to make. I'm not going to outsmart my alcoholism. Okay? What I need to do is let go. And that is really the purpose of steps 4 to 9, 10, 11, and 12, certainly. But 4 to 9 in particular are about removing the feelings within me that are causing me to be cut off from the sunlight of the Spirit. Okay? Dr. Silkworth called it restless, irritable, and discontent. Whatever those feelings are, they are symptomatic of the internal spiritual malady. Okay? And we need to clear these things away to unblock that channel so that God's love, God's power can flow into us. And that's what we're doing now. And there's a reason why Bill Wilson is writing about it right now in the book. Because we're about to climb inside the rocket, okay? The rocket to the 4th dimension, man. We're about to climb inside the rocket. In terms of step 4, up till now, this has all been blame game. Now, we're going to learn one of the first key essential tools to be rocketed and catapulted into the 4th dimension, to be free of these things that are blocking us. And it's not easy to do, but it is absolutely powerful and it works 100% of the time if I will apply the tool. Brad, back to you.
If we were to live, we had to be free of anger. The grouch and the brainstorm were not for us. They may be the dubious luxury of normal men, but for alcoholics, these things are poison. We turned back to the list, for it held the key to the future. We were prepared to look at it from an entirely different angle. We began to see that the world and its people really dominated us. In that state, the wrongdoing of others, fancied and real, had power to actually kill. How could we escape? We saw that these resentments must be mastered, but how? We could not wish them away any more than alcohol. This was our course. We realized that the people who wronged us were perhaps spiritually sick.
So okay, so a couple things I just want to say. For me, it's a super important line. The wrongdoings of others, fancied or real, had the power to actually kill. Okay. Look, guys, a lot of those like nickel and dime resentments that I talked about, man, when I put them under the magnifying glass and really started to look at them, they were fancied, man. Fantasied, if you will. They're fictional. I made them up. It didn't actually happen. Or at least when I got honest about it, it didn't actually happen that way. Do you think it's pretty easy for me to forgive those types of resentments? Yeah, for sure. Because they're not real. They didn't happen. Nickel and dimes, the wrongdoings of others that are fancied, yeah, those are easy to let go of. But the ones that are real, the ones where people intended to hurt me, sought out to hurt me, and were successful in that enterprise, those are much harder for me to let go. Okay. Bill Wilson talks about what about self-righteous anger? Okay. Aren't we entitled to be angry with people who harmed us? Not as alcoholics. We can't. I can't, because these things cut me off from the sunlight of the spirit. The insanity of alcohol will return and I will drink again. Okay. And I'll tell you, one of the most dangerous things for me to get is a resentment towards Alcoholics Anonymous or someone in AA or my group, or they put out this plain language big book. I can't believe the trustees would allow that, or whatever. Okay. Because now my medicine is turning into poison. Okay. The very thing that my life depends upon is now become, it's boomeranged on me and it's now become part of my sickness. And that's a very dangerous thing. Okay. And I have learned the hard way in my life, and I've seen it happen with others, particularly if I get resentful at someone at my home group, or, and I do get resentful at people at my home group, by the way. I get crazy about people at my home group. Some of the deepest resentments I have in my life are individuals at my home group. Okay. Please do not think that I've somehow overcome becoming petty and resentful at people. It happens all the time. That's why I need this 4-column inventory locked inside my head. Okay. So I can do this work all the time and apply these tools. Okay. And the wrongdoing of others, fancied or real, had the power to actually kill. The fancied ones are easy to let go. The ones where people really are wronging me, in my perception, are the things that are really, really need to be treated with this tool. Okay, then it says, this was our course. We realized the people who wronged us were perhaps spiritually sick. I like to also say sick or suffering. That's the key, to realize that the people who harmed me are suffering. They're sick, they're spiritually sick, but sometimes for me, that can just become a type of judgmentalness, like, that SOB, he's just sick anyway. Not a lot of spiritual value in that. Not a lot of compassion coming in that statement, okay? But when I can start to see that the people who are wronging me are suffering, that they are suffering, and that their suffering is spilling out of them and causing me to suffer. And they may not even want to be harming me. They may not be intending to, but their suffering is spilling out of them and causing me to suffer. And I am not even the first victim of their suffering. Who is the first victim of their suffering? They are. They're the first victim of their suffering, okay? And when I can start to see them that way, we can start to develop compassion for the people that I once hated. Where I used to feel bitterness and hatred, I now feel compassionate, understanding, and love. Okay? So we realized the people who harmed us, which are the people in column 1, were perhaps sick or suffering. Brad, back to you. You're muted, fella.
Sorry.
No
this was
problem.
our course. We realized that the people who wronged us were perhaps spiritually sick. Though we did not like their symptoms and the way these disturbed us, they, like ourselves, were sick too. We asked God to help us show them the same tolerance, pity, and patience that we would cheerfully grant a sick friend. When a person offended, we said to ourselves, "This is a sick man. How can I be helpful to him?" God, save me from being angry. Thy will be done.
Hallelujah. Beautiful. Okay, so when it says we did not like their symptoms, that's column 2. And the way that they disturbed us, that's column 3. They, like ourselves, were sick and suffering too. Okay. Now, anytime in the book that we see the words we asked, that's a prayer. So here it says, we ask God to help us show them the same tolerance, pity, and patience I would cheerfully grant a sick friend. Okay. So whoever it is in column 1, let's say it's someone named Dave. Okay. Dave, God, please help show Dave the same tolerance, pity, and patience I would cheerfully grant a sick friend. Then it says, when a person offended, we said to ourselves, Dave is a sick and suffering man. How can I be helpful to him? God, save me from being angry. Thy will be done. So listen, guys, when we talk about the prayer in between column 3 and column 4, there's going to be 2 of them that we're going to talk about. The first is on page 67, and that's it. People refer to it often as the sick man prayer, okay? God, please help me show them the same tolerance, pity, and patience I would cheerfully grant a sick friend. This is a sick and suffering person. Please show me how I can be helpful to him. God, save me from being angry. Thy will, not mine, be done, okay? And I ask my sponsees, going through their first step 4, to say that prayer at least one time for every resentment they have, at least once, okay? And some of them are going to disappear like magic. Others are going to take a little bit more prayer, and we're going to talk about that in just a moment. The short form of the step 4 anger prayer, by the way, I have been taught, and I believe, is simply that phrase, God, save me from being angry. That's it. The short form of the step 4 anger prayer, the step 4 resentment prayer, God, save me from being angry. And notice it doesn't say, God, remove my anger, or God, take my anger away. It says, God, save me from being angry. Why do I need to be saved from being angry? Because resentment is the number 1 offender, and it kills more alcoholics than anything. My life depends on this, guys, okay? My life depends on it. Hitting bottom is not an event. It's not a situation. It's not a time or a place. Hitting bottom is when I start to take direction, okay? And if I have truly hit bottom and I am truly surrendered and willing to do whatever is required for me to stay sober, then I am going to start praying for the people that I resent, okay? And I need to be saved from it. The other problem is that, even if I'm not drinking, I do not do anger well as an alcoholic, okay? I drive anger like a fast car into a brick wall, man, okay? I harm people. When I am living in untreated alcoholism and sobriety, I need to be saved from being angry because I lose control in anger. And I don't mean I lose control. And it's been, quite a while since this has happened. I'm grateful to say, but I apply, man, I pray, meditate, inventory every night of my life. And it keeps me baseline level. Okay. It doesn't mean I don't still get irritated or just pissy sometimes, because I do. Okay. But I have not lost control of my mouth for a long time. And that's what happens with me with anger, is I lose control of my mouth. I don't become violent. I become, I say mean things, and I hurt people and I harm people. I need to be saved from being angry. Okay. And you may identify with that. Some of you may understand that. So now that is the first part of the step 4. We call it the sick man prayer. Okay. So we're praying, and this is really, we talked about this the other day. Be quick to see what other religions have to offer and how we can make use of them. I'm paraphrasing. I forget exactly what the line is, but be quick to see where religious people are right and make use of what they have to offer. That's what we're talking about. This idea of praying for our enemies, okay? uh, is something that I hope you'll forgive me for saying, but Jesus taught. That's something that we get from Christianity. Okay. Now, I also take stuff from Buddhism. The thing about suffering, being suffering, look at them as suffering people, that's Buddhism. Okay. And I take stuff from Islam. I'll take stuff from Judaism. I take stuff from everywhere. So I hope you won't be offended when I say that, but that's really something that we get from Jesus. Okay. To pray for our enemies, not eye for an eye, but to turn the other cheek and to pray for our enemies. Okay. And that's, I think it's a beautiful thing. I like to take everything I can from all the different religions as much as I can. Okay. So now, that's on page 67. I want to share one more thing with you guys, and then we'll be done for the night. Let's go to page 552. Page 552, way in the back. Okay. I'm going to ask Brad to read this for us. The story essentially is that this woman, she's sober in AA. She's been sober for a while. She's doing the 4-column inventory, but she's missed the prayer part. Okay. She didn't know about it. And she's got this resentment. It was towards her mother. She knows she's going to drink behind this resentment again. And she sees a magazine article and it says resentment on it. It's written by a clergyman or a priest or whatever you want to say. And this is like an AA classic on page 552. Okay. So when I talk to my sponsees about the prayer between column 3 and column 4, we go to page 67. This is a sick man. How can I be helpful to him? God save him from being angry. Thy will, not mine, be done. Okay. We ask God to show them the same tolerance, pity, and patience we would cheerfully grant to sick friend. Beautiful. Then we go to page 552. On 552, where it says, he said in effect. Brad, if you'll read that for us.
He said, in effect, if you have a resentment you want to be free of, if you will pray for the person or the thing that you resent, you will be free. If you will ask in prayer for everything you want for yourself to be given to them, you will be free. Ask for their health, their prosperity, their happiness, and you will be free. Even
Okay,
when you
so the
don't.
way that we do that, so the way that we do this is I'll say to my sponsees, okay, God, please help show them the same tolerance, pity, and patience I would cheerfully grant to a sick friend. When a person offended, we said to ourselves, God, this is a sick man. How can I be helpful to him? God save him from being angry. Thy will, not mine, be done. Then we follow the instructions here. Okay. God, please give everything to this person that I want for myself. God, please grant them health, prosperity, and happiness. Okay. And that as a matter of discipline, as a matter of direction and action to take, I have them say that prayer for every resentment one time. As I said, some of them will disappear right away. Some of them will not. Those $50 bills are going to hang in there, man. Okay. And we're going to see, Brad's going to read for us exactly what the direction is right here.
Even when you don't really want it for them and your prayers are only words and you don't mean it, go ahead and do it anyway. Do it every day for 2 weeks and you will find you have come to mean it and to want it for them. And you will realize that where you used to feel bitterness and resentment and hatred, you now feel compassionate, understanding, and love.
Boom. Boom. Every day for 2 weeks. And I'm here to tell you, I had resentments, towards, I'll just say childhood trauma, things that had happened in my childhood and things that I needed to let go of, those things I had mentioned that were part of my DNA. I had to pray for those things for a long time, okay? Longer than 2 weeks. And I'm sure there's some of you here right now who are thinking, no chance am I going to pray for that scumbag or whatever, okay? And I hope that you will try something new, and I hope that you will let go of that closed-mindedness to it. Now I understand it. I sincerely do. Okay. All I'm asking is that you try it. Man, it says, even if you don't really mean it and your prayers are just words, go ahead and do it anyway. And you will find through supernatural power of God that you will come to meet it. And that where I used to feel bitterness and hatred, I will say, I don't know that I can say like love. I can feel love for these people in the sense that I can see that they're suffering. I'm not saying I adore these people now. Okay. And that's not, I'm not saying that you have to uh, like these people. Guys, one of the first, let me share this with you. One of the most important lessons I ever learned in recovery. And what we're talking about here really is forgiveness. How do we forgive? I do not have the power to forgive the people that I hate. I have to get that power from God. And that's what we're doing. Okay. I don't have the power to forgive. I ask God to help me forgive, and God forgives them. Okay. And I am just here to ask God for his help in helping me to forgive these people. I can intellectually say to myself, oh, yeah, I let that go. I don't hold on to that anymore. Nonsense, I say. Nonsense. Deep down in my guts, I know that I still hold on to that. Okay. God forgives them. And I invite God's forgiveness into this situation, and God forgives them. Okay. And one of the most important things that I ever learned in recovery relative to forgiving the people that I hated is that forgiving does not mean condoning what happened. Forgiving does not mean that what they did was okay. I am not giving them a pass. What I am doing is what Sandy Beach recommends: letting go. Forgiveness does not mean condoning. The people who did to me what was done and so on and so forth, it was not okay. In no world was that okay. In no universe was that okay. I'm not holding on to it anymore. I'm letting it go. And I'm not condoning what they did. I'm not saying what they did was okay. I'm just letting it go. Okay? I've heard it said that forgiving is accepting the apology that is never going to come. Okay? But I just accept their apology. Okay? And that's it. And I start to feel freedom. Okay? And the sun is a little brighter, and I can start to hear the birds sing a little bit more, and I start to be able to live my life right here and now without carrying around a huge bag of bricks of hatred and resentment anymore. You guys with me on that? Who's with me on that? Give me one of these. Give me one of these. Give me one of these. Come on now. Come on. Let's go. Let's go. All right, guys. That's column 3. That's column 3. And I don't want to get into it today, but we'll do it next week. Next week, can someone please remind me of it's called the hospital meditation. Okay. The hospital meditation. We're going to go through that together next week, and then we're going to get into column 4. Okay. So with that said, guys, we're going to close the meeting. We're going to close the meeting with the Lord's Prayer. And then what I would like to do, please